Chapter 18, October 7th. I want to cheer and cry and wail and shout all at the same time. All the emotions swirling in me are fighting to find a way out. I used my powers again today. Something about meeting Treadon is changing me and making me want to do more. It was a simple bone break, something I'd practiced as a child, but it felt amazing. This freedom, but it comes with so much fear. He's a football player, an ordinary, a hook that has embedded himself in my brain like a foxtail weed in a wool sock. A boy who sees so much and chose to see so little, but he's changing too, and I can't help but think we make a good team. I can't help thinking I could do so much more. The feeling didn't last. It never does. On the way home today, a car rolling too slowly followed me for a block. I put my head down like a turtle and tucked myself into my shell. Despite my newfound joy, I cannot shake the feeling that something bad is about to happen, like the thing I've been hiding from is getting closer. Like that night when I listened at the door when I was supposed to be in bed, and I knew things were about to change. I didn't want things to change. I loved the house and the surrounding forest, the warm fire that crackled in the fireplace. That was my home, my safe place. I never believed anything bad would happen to me there. But when a stranger knocked on the door a few minutes after bedtime and spoke in low tones with my mom and dad, I crept to the door and listened to what the messenger had to say. Abigail Nelson. Abigail Nelson drove past the high school every day on her way home from work. It was usually too late to pick up Treadon from school, but she always glanced across the parking lot, imagining so many moments of her son's life. He'd been a quiet kindergartner, hanging on to her leg, begging her to stay with him a little longer. She'd loved those days of being needed, of being his whole world. She wished that she'd been able to do better. Every parent wanted to do more for their child. But she'd put so much on him, raising him without a father, expecting him to accept Gabe as some kind of roommate without explanation, keeping so many secrets from him. He didn't deserve the life she'd forced on him. Abigail kept her eyes on the school for a moment too long and swerved slightly when she saw her tires drift toward the center lane. A car honked, but she straightened out before there was any damage. Then, from the corner of her eye, she saw a bright light, a white flash. She glanced again, but she was almost past the school. She caught sight of a group of kids at the far side of the quad, but then the building blocked her view. There was nothing after the flash. Even in the glimpse she'd had before passing the school, she could tell there were no Unguarded among the kids she'd seen. But that light, she saw it on her map every evening as she and Gabe scoured the world for Unguarded who were just coming into their own. When their light turned on, she could see it. She used to think she was the only one who could see the lights, that she was special and the only one who could help Gabe, but now she knew there were others finding the Unguarded before she could. She tightened her grip on the steering wheel. She didn't want to fail these children. She didn't want to lose any more. Abigail pulled into her driveway and hurried up the porch steps. She didn't know what she'd seen, but she would check her map and see if she could find an explanation. She walked into the house. Treadon? It was late, but Treadon didn't answer. Maybe tutoring was going long. She'd pushed him too hard to focus on football, but it seemed like such an easy solution to push him away from the dangers she felt coming closer, always just a shadow away. She pulled out her map and laid it on the table. She used her fingers to look closer at the school and the area around it. Nothing. No aura. No white light of an Unguarded. A hand came down on her back and she whirled, using her palm to snap up into the attacker's jaw the way Gabe had taught her. Gabe caught her wrist, stopping her hand a whisker away from his chin. "I'm sorry I startled you," he said, gently checking her arm where he'd stopped her from hitting him. Abigail pulled away, her heart fluttering, her words a little breathless. "I didn't know you were back." "I wanted to investigate Jaren's car a little more with you," Gabe said, folding his arms across his chest. "I got some information about some movement in the Triune, and I think it's connected to Los Angeles somehow." Abigail had to turn away to keep her throat from closing. Whenever he was so close, she couldn't quite catch her breath. "Do you think they've found you? Are we in danger?" "No, nothing like that." Gabe took a step back. "Just a few whispers I wanted to clarify. What were you doing with the map?" "I thought I saw an Unguarded aura today, at Treadon's school." "Here? Why didn't you call me?" I'm not sure what it was. It only lasted for an instant, and then it was gone." "That's strange. You sure you weren't seeing Jaren's car again?" Abigail paused, trying not to let her emotions show. He held his in an iron box. It wasn't fair that hers bled out onto the floor. Maybe you're right. I was driving past the school, and if the car was there, I might have mistaken it for an aura. It really does shine bright, but it doesn't show up on the map because it isn't a living aura. I'll look into it." "Did you find the last one?" She knew the answer by the drawn look on his face. She'd sent him after an unguarded aura near Dallas, Texas. He'd gone as soon as she'd seen it, but had found another empty house. "No." Gabe leaned his arm against the doorframe, his head lowered. "How are they finding them before us?" Abigail asked. She brushed back a stray strand of hair, letting her fingers linger on the scar along her hairline. "I'm watching as often as I can." "I don't know, but I will find out what is happening to them, if it's the last thing I do." Gabe straightened, his hands coming to his side, fingers curled into fists. Abigail turned to face him again. "Even if you lead them here?" Gabe's eyes dropped. His jaw flexed. He didn't answer.